Hi, I'm Dale Powell, and welcome to That Spirit of Christmas. I'm going to tell you something that I don't think is going to shock you, but I could be wrong. I love Christmas. And you know what else? I'm one of those people who loves Christmas music, all kinds of Christmas music, from the sacred to the secular to every type of Christmas music. But I think the absolute best Christmas music was recorded between the years 1940 and 1970. The kind they play on holiday traditions, the Sirius XM channel. I think that is some of the most beautiful Christmas music ever made. But I'm going to narrow it tonight. I'm going to talk about Christmas carols. Now, normally when I talk about Christmas carol, I'm talking about Ebenezer Scrooge. That's what I have hung my hat on. I've played Scrooge. I've written about Scrooge. I wrote a sequel to A Christmas Carol. But tonight, I'm not going to talk about a Christmas carol. I'm going to talk about Christmas carols. Now, a lot of people don't know this, and I had to look it up to be absolutely sure. But what is the difference in a Christmas carol and a Christmas song? There's not a strong distinction, but a Christmas carol tends to be those that are more sacred or spiritual in nature. Now, there are a few that are borderline as far as that goes, but generally speaking, a Christmas carol isn't going to be a song about Santa Claus. Santa Claus is coming to town, for instance. That is a Christmas song, not a Christmas carol. But tonight, I want to talk about Christmas carols and I want to get you involved in it. You know what I want us to do? I want us to have a little quiz. I'm going to give you three clues about some very popular Christmas carols. And I think it'll be a lot of fun because you're going to learn a little bit about these carols. If you get it on the first clue, give yourself 3 points. If you get it on the second clue, give yourself 2 points. If it takes the third clue, give yourself 1 point. But I think it might be fun if you comment below how many of them you got right and how many points you got. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first Christmas carol was written in 1865 by an English poet named William Chatterton Dix, and he wrote it at a time when he was very ill. That tell you anything? Second clue, I want to tell you that the title of this song is a question, but it's not really asking a question. It's mentally debating this in the writer's mind. Anybody know? Okay. For 1 point, let's see if you can get this one. It was written to the tune of a very popular English song. And some people say incorrectly because the song existed before this man was alive. Some people say that it was written by Henry VIII, but it really wasn't. It was a very popular song that's still popular today, but it's centuries old. And in 1865, it took on the tune. The tune that it took on was the old English song Greensleeves. And the Christmas carol, Child is This. See, the guy is really not asking what child is this is. He is saying, what have we here? What is this all about? And he realizes it. This is Christ the King. Yep, that's the message of the first one. And I was thinking, there really aren't any real popular versions of that song that have been recorded because it is mostly a choir song. I was thinking, who has recorded that? The first time I ever heard the song was when I was a little boy, because the first Christmas record we ever had was Gene Autry's album, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And on side one, it was all Christmas songs. On side two, I think he had like one or two Christmas songs, but then it went into Christmas carols. And the last song on this album was What Child Is This? And I had heard the tune Greensleeves as a little boy, so I knew that it sounded very familiar. The only other popular one, but it doesn't fall in that 1940 to 1970 window, was recorded by the rock group the Moody Blues. Justin Hayward did an amazing vocal performance with the Moody Blues on their version of What Child Is This? I encourage you to check that out. Okay, now on to the next song. Next Christmas Carol is one of my favorites. I love to hear it sung. I didn't know this until very recently, but this song is the oldest surviving American Christmas carol. An American Christmas carol. Not a lot of them were written in America. Most of them came from Europe. But this is the oldest surviving American Christmas carol, written in 1857. This song talks about a star as a guiding light. What do you think it is? Did you say Silent Night? That's not right. Did you say Oh Holy Night? That's not right. But you know what? I think given that picture, I would have probably said the same thing. But that's not right. Do you know what it is? Okay, here's the final clue. It talks about three people in this song, but biblically, we don't know how many there were. We presume they say three because there were three gifts. Yeah, you know it now. I'm talking about We Three Kings. I love that song as well. And you know, a person who did a wonderful job with that song was Dolly Parton. Listen to her take on that song. And actually, I like that song by just about anyone I've heard it by because it just has a beautiful melody. All right, let's go on to the next song. The next Christmas Carol is a beautiful short song, but it is often misunderstood what it means because of, many of you know I'm an English teacher, because of a misplaced comma. When people write the title of this song, they either leave the comma out or they ignore it. Do you know what song I'm talking about? If so, give yourself 3 points. You can check here in a moment. Okay, now the second clue. Here it is. We all know that Bing Crosby's White Christmas is considered the best-selling Christmas song of all time. Now, I said best-selling, not most played, because the most played Christmas song of all time is Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas for You. In fact, it's #1 on the Billboard charts right now. So realize there's a difference in best-selling and most played. But the best-selling Christmas song was Bing Crosby's White Christmas. Now, when he originally released that song, the flip side of it on the 78 was Silent Night. But when it came to a 45 RPM record, you know, those ones with the big round holes in them that I had as a little boy, this song was the flip side of White Christmas in a lot of homes because, like I said, this is the best-selling Christmas record of all time. Do you know what it is by Bing Crosby? No? All right. I'll bet you'll know it when I give you the final clue. It made the term comfort and joy a big part of the Christmas holiday. Do you know what it is? Yeah. God rest ye merry gentlemen. And the part I was talking about, if you look, it is written, God rest ye merry, comma, gentlemen. So in other words, they're saying, gentlemen, be merry, rest merry, be happy. It almost sounds like we're describing gentlemen as merry. In other words, that's almost like saying, well, calm down, guys. But no, We're saying, be happy, gentlemen. Be happy. Rest. All is well. Happy Christmas. Doesn't get any better than that, does it? Oh, and by the way, a modern version of that song, well, I say modern, it was the 1970s, but country singer Charlie Rich did a great version of that song. You ought to check that out. All right, on to the next one. Okay, the next carol is really not a Christmas song at all, but it largely echoes the theme of Christ when he said, "What you do to the least of these, you do also to me." What song is about doing good to people, but it's not really set at Christmas? If you know that, give yourself 3 points. Okay, here's the next clue. This song is set on the day after Christmas. Not Christmas Day, December the 26th. If you know that one, give yourself 2 points. But I'll bet you know it when I give you the final clue. This is a song about the Feast of Stephen, the very first Christian martyr. You know it now. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the Feast of Stephen, and the Feast of Stephen is December the 26th. I think it fits perfectly with the Christmas scene because what does the king see? He sees a poor beggar outside trying his best to keep warm, and he brings him in. What you do for the least of these, you do also to me. The song is Good King Wenceslas. I really love that song. It's a beautiful song with a beautiful message. I don't know of any popular people who did a really good version of that, but check it out. It is a powerful, beautiful song. This next Christmas carol was written at one of the darkest times in American history, 1865, when we were in the Civil War. Okay. And it's a song about peace, not celebration, something that was really needed at that time. If you know which Christmas carol I'm talking about, think about peace and calm. Which Christmas carol is it? If you know, give yourself 3 points. If not, here's the one for 2 points. This is written about a single moment of peace, of clarity, of calm. Something you'd need during the time of the American Civil War. What would it be? Okay, the third and final clue, this talks about a moment of peace that is so beautiful and clear at midnight. Did I just give it away? It came upon the midnight clear. Now, that song was written, like I said, during the Civil War, and they were talking about the peace that can come with Christmas. In 1998, I wrote a sequel to A Christmas Carol, and I included something in there, and this is going to be the final carol that I talk about. And the thing about it is, it really wasn't written as a song at all. It was a poem, and it was actually several years before it was written as a song. It just started as a poem. But I want to read what I wrote in my book, Timothy Cratchit's Christmas Carol 1917, about this particular song. In my book, by the way, Timothy Cratchit, that's Tiny Tim. Remember, Dickens told us he didn't die. So I figured, well, if he didn't die, he must have lived. So I wrote a book about that. It was the first sequel actually written to A Christmas Carol about Tiny Tim. There have been others since then, but I did a little checking and I did find out, yeah, I was the first. But here we go. At the very end of my book, once Timothy Cratchit has met with his three spirits of Christmas, I have him go to a church and he hears the following message from the minister. Now, I set my book in 1917, which was when the Great War, as they called it at the time, it's now known as World War One, but it wasn't called World War One because there wasn't a World War Two. It was supposed to be the Great War, the war to end all wars. Well, we know that didn't happen. But anyway, war had dealt Timothy Cratchit a very terrible blow and he was very distressed. Well, he's met with three different spirits of Christmas, not the same ones. After his visit with the spirits, he goes to a church and he hears the following message spoken by the minister. Half a century ago, this land found itself in the midst of the Civil War. During that destructive opus of American history, the poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote these words upon hearing the bells of Christmas. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. There's your second clue. And in despair, I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said. For hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And then the poet reminds us of the insights that can sometimes be spoken to us only in moments of true reflection. So often these insights do not come to us in words, but as an instantaneous thought. He wrote, Then pealed the bells more loud and sweet. God is not dead, nor does he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. And of course, I was just reading from I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, the poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. What a beautiful poem. Listen, everything, everybody goes through some really, really hard times, but we're all into this together. The message of that story and all these carols is love, and there can be nothing greater than love. If you turn your life to love, you will have a very happy Christmas. And that is what I wish for every one of you. But hey, how did you do on my quiz? I'm a teacher. I always give quizzes. Tell me how many points you got in the comments. I'd love to see it. And I want to see you on the next one. And I'm going to do some other Christmas carols. You might say, Dale, you didn't do Away in a Manger. You didn't do Silent Night. You didn't do It Came Upon the Midnight Clear. You didn't do Oh Come All Ye Faithful. Well, those were obvious. Okay, I'll do those in another podcast. And I'm also do some about the Santa Claus songs. I'll do some that are semi-carols. And I also want to do one that is about rock and roll Christmas songs. Those are some of my favorite ones. I'll tell you one right now. If you haven't heard that, go to YouTube. You're on YouTube right now, probably. Go to YouTube and write Christmas Must Be Tonight by the band. If that doesn't move you, well, you're not alive. Merry Christmas, everyone. I love you. Happy Christmas. See you the next time.